Hey, hello again. Welcome to Thinking Out Loud Live.
Hi, everyone.
My name's Ricardo Zulueta.
I'm Kristen, his wife.
Yeah, so this show was made possible by Start Day One, which is a nonprofit foundation for mental health and suicide prevention with a more proactive approach in helping people rather than being reactive and waiting for mental health issues or suicidal tendencies. So today's guest, we were actually going to have
We were gonna have a guest today.
yeah, but due to some circumstances he wasn't able to make it, but yeah, you could kind of, I guess, still intro him.
So we're gonna wind up talking about his book. Basically his name is Dr. Benjamin Hardy, and his book is Personality Isn't Permanent. Now, he's got a couple books, but this one is the one that we were going to talk about with him today. He is an organizational psychologist, a best-selling author. He's been featured on Forbes magazine and Fortune magazine, CNBC. He's been interviewed with. He's just crazy, and he's trying to help people realize that breaking free from self-limiting beliefs to rewrite your own story. So basically, like, stuff that happened in your past doesn't actually frame your future. That doesn't mean that's who you are. So We'll get into that a little bit deeper. But
yeah, he actually had a cool story about it. So yeah. So basically, he's saying personality isn't permanent, and a lot of people believe that it's like innate and fixed. That everything from your past really just determines your future, that you're always going to be the same person. For example, a lot of people will say, I'm an introvert. Mm-hmm. And it's not because...
And that's it. They say that they're stuck there. Yeah. They can't get past that.
Yeah. So that's just an example. Or some people will go check out their horoscope and stuff like that and say, like, oh my God, that's me. And as if that's always going to be you.
Because I'm a Capricorn and that's all that's it. And they never can go outside of that.
Right. So he actually went and did his research and found that our personalities are actually malleable, and it's always changing.
And they're always changing.
Yeah. Throughout the show, if you guys have any questions, now that he's actually not going to be able to make it, we'd love to answer some of your questions that we kind of learned from his book, and it's really good. It's one of the...
I think every person needs to read this book.
Yeah.
Just like every person, whether you have mental health issues or not, every person needs to read this book.
Awesome.
No matter who you are, where you are in your life, every person needs to actually read this book.
Yeah. One of the biggest things that you learn from it is not necessarily just like it's about your past. So the biggest thing, the takeaway, actually what's awesome is all the things that he wrote about are basically our beliefs already. He just kind of backed it up with research. We always thought, we always have kind of disputes with people that think like, yeah, but that's who I am. And it's just like, well, I didn't have a backup before. And I always, told them like, yeah, but you can, it's not about that, people that go through PTSD and all that stuff. What it made it clear was it's not about what you can see from your past. It's actually what's messing you up is actually what you can't see about your future. Because once you kind of picture yourself in a future that it's not in line, or it's in line with your perspective. So I always go into like talking about perspective determines your decisions and all that stuff. And this is probably one of the most simple perspective shifts that you can have, is you have to have like a future version of yourself that's always going to be who you strive for. And in the future, it's going to be the other future self. So it's never ending. And that's what I like about it. It's like, it's not finite. And it's like, that's compared with goals. So, one of the things that we say all the time, when you're in a bad state of mind, you always tend to love excuses and hate accountability. Right. And a lot of times it's because you're always blaming on the past. Like almost all the time, this is what happened. And, this is why I'm in this situation. This is what I'm like, this is why I'm here. And that's actually not necessarily the case, because the past is already the past. It already happened. You're pretty much kicking your own ass. Like no one's doing it to you. No one's saying it to you anymore. The breakup isn't happening twice. It already happened. So you actually need to be more accountable, but instead you keep making up these excuses. But it's normal. You just have to be aware of it.
You know how people say you're living in the past?
Exactly. So, that's one of the things people don't realize is that we're always evolving. When you have like a traumatic event, what it does is it actually just accelerates your evolution. When you go through a breakup, relationship, the way you think of about relationships change drastically, right? When you lose a job, all of a sudden you change. So it really just makes it a lot quicker. But you're always changing. The future you is not going to be the same, and the past version of you is not the same you now.
The future you shouldn't be the same.
It better not be the same.
It better not be the same person you are today.
Yeah.
The me the me 3 years ago is not the same person I am today. The me 10 years ago, I don't even recognize that person.
Right.
Not even close.
Yeah.
So your personality has to evolve constantly. You're not going to be the same person. Like think back on who you were 2 years ago. Are you the same person? Do you still think the same things about the same things? Do you still have the same beliefs?
Yeah.
Everything changes. You've changed constantly.
Yeah, definitely. And you have to actually, something from the book, it said, we can't predict the future, but we should. So the more you kind of try and predict your future, the better. So you always have to see a future version of yourself, right? One of the things that I tell entrepreneurs now, because people, when you're an entrepreneur, you think, oh, I don't have a boss, but actually you do. And it's the future version of yourself. What would that future version of yourself be doing to be that person, right? So for example, we're doing our startups and all that stuff. It doesn't mean you got to just keep working and hustle and, work, no play. That's not the goal. Your future version would be pissed off at you if you didn't stop and smell the roses, right? So it's all about the future version of you. Like, what would he do? How did he accomplish this? How did he make it there? So that's kind of like the book. It like really goes deep into that. What's that? Aren't some core values remain even? What's this? We have a quick question, Brian. Aren't there some core values that remain even after traumatic life-changing events? Yeah,
absolutely.
Absolutely. There are some core values, but a lot of times it's actually a choice, right? There's people that change it from one to the next, from being nice in high school and then being a real prick because he got rich, or, they were dorks back then. And all of a sudden, like, why did you change into being this? Like, what happened to that nice guy that I met?
Yeah.
Or sometimes they were bullies and bad in high school, but
they're the nicest, kindest person.
Exactly. So yeah, there's some core values, but that's something you're brought up with. There's always some kind of core value, but when you let it determine your future, for example, someone that thinks the core value is they're going to be a loser. My dad's an alcoholic, so I'm going to be one too. And oh my God, I heard suicide is genetic, so now I'm going to be suicidal. Well, that's what you're going to, if that's your mindset of the future, that's going to mess you up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not what happens in your past. It's actually how you see yourself, actually how you see the past with your current version, thinking as a future version.
Right.
I hope that makes sense. So for me, I want, we're trying to accomplish some things, right? We're trying to do things in the future. So we have a future version of ourselves,
mm-hmm.
Our sense of purpose or whatever. And you kind of actually alter your past as you make progress.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of weird. He goes deep into that about, how we see history. If you look at any kind of history books, there's different version of the past.
Yeah.
Like different versions. This is what it was, and this is what it really was, and it depends where society is, right? Same thing with people. Like you see your past differently as you make progress. For example, when something really bad happens to you, right? No one really says, oh, what do you call it? Things happen for a reason. No one ever says it when something is really bad. Once something happens that's good, then they say, I guess everything happens for a reason, right? Because now you see your past in a different way, like, oh, that should have happened for me. Like it was supposed to happen for me. That's how I would have met her. Like, so that's kind of, I mean, I don't really, when people say everything happens for a reason, what they're really trying to tell you is that you have to find the reasons to make things happen. I'm always trying to help people be accountable. The more you keep relying on other factors of your life, it's like, and that's what really hurts people, right? You need to be accountable. It's actually intentional. And I always tell people the steps to pursuit of happiness, you have to start with a sense of purpose. You're always going to feel lost if you don't know where the hell you're going or why. Once you get your sense of purpose, now you start looking at your perspectives. Your perspective might not be in line with your purpose, and that's why you never go that way, and that's why you're unhappy. So for example, someone wants to be a rock star, whatever, playing guitar, wants to be a rock star. That's the purpose. He wants to be that. But then his perspective is, yeah, but I don't really have time. I have kids. Well, that's not in line with your purpose now. So you're always going to be unhappy because you think that that's your purpose in life, and you won't change it. And now you're unhappy because
you're not a rock star.
If you can change your perspective and say, well, wait, if I stop watching TV so much, and if I start doing this, so you start looking at the future version, right? That rock star. How did that rock star get there? Actually, it was that 10 years ago or something?
Making excuses.
Yeah, like 10 years ago, I actually told her, I go, there's this like quantum, what is it? Some like quantum theory or whatever, that everything that can happen does happen, right? I think most people.
Data is happening.
Yeah, like there's future versions of us. There's a homeless version of me. There's a super rich version of me. There's so many versions of us. There's one
a fat version of us.
Right, right. And supposedly all of it happens. So I told her, like, why not this one?
Why not this one?
Like, I want to be that one that succeeds and does this. And, like, why can't it be this life? What did that dude do? What did my version that made it do to get there? And so those are the kind of steps that we take. And so it determines like our actions. And so those are kind of like helps with your purpose. You have to have like a future mindset. Here's one cool thing about purpose that I learned from the book, actually. So people that just got on, Personality Isn't Permanent.
Awesome book. Everyone has to read it.
He mentioned something about, well, actually the first thing is when you think about purpose, first of all, this one's not from the book. When you think of your sense of purpose, it is never a noun. You don't say, I want to be a rock star as your purpose. I want to have a successful business, or those are just goals. A purpose usually, or actually almost always, is something that provides value to more people. It's never about yourself. A purpose, a cause, is never about yourself. I just want to be happy going into my Lamborghini and going into my mansion. It's not a purpose.
I went into my Lamborghini and my mansion and I still wasn't happy. So I left all that.
So you got to remember that.
Because it wasn't part of my purpose.
Yeah. So your purpose is actually an action word. It's a verb. I want to help people learn more about self-awareness so I can help them live a life that they want or whatever. So that becomes your purpose. For the clothing line, our mission, it's almost the same thing. It's to inspire and motivate people to live life without regret and accept challenges worth the risk. So everything that we do kind of ties around that. So that's a sense of purpose. What's cool with your purpose is this. As humans, we kind of always try to go away from pain, and we always go towards pleasure, right? And people think that like you don't do the things that are painful. When you think of your sense of purpose, what actually happens is you go to a straight line, right? It doesn't matter if there's pain or pleasure because of your purpose. For example, like I've talked to different people, talking about purpose with their startup. No one goes, oh, I can't wait to work 15, 20 hours a day and not sleep at all.
And struggle.
And struggle my ass off, And so no one does that, even for freaking people that want to be, people with a purpose of, giving music to the world to make them happy or whatever, right? They don't go like, oh, I can't wait for the long trips when I do a tour. And no one talks about that because they just have this sense of purpose and they follow that. So you really want to get to your future version of yourself. And if you can't see that, it's not going to work out. He actually goes to talk about relationships, right? It's not just about compatibility. You both have to have the same sense of purpose, because if her purpose was just, I don't know, to be
a housewife
or something, and I want to be a rock star that travels the world, that's not going to work. It's not going to work.
It's not going to work
at all. So it's actually about your sense of purpose, because then you go through the bad times and the good times together. Mm-hmm. When you have that together, it actually makes the relationship a lot better.
And you evolve from that.
Yeah. And that's when you surround yourself with, similar people, that's what happens. It kind of evolves, right? And then really you just got to shift your perspectives to match that, so you actually reach that. So the purpose is your why you're doing it, and it's kind of a direction. Your perspective is your path. How are you going to get there? Because if the purpose is going this way, but your perspective is this way, well, obviously you're not doing it. So that's actually what happens. So he says who you become is a choice. Mm-hmm. And only you can do that. And we totally believe that. And that's why we say it's all about accountability. Mm-hmm. I learned that from talking to people, and they're just like, it's always someone else's fault, right? You have to know that you're accountable for your own happiness and your depression, right? But people don't misunderstand. You didn't cause the depression, you didn't cause the anxiety.
Something happens.
Those are natural responses.
Yeah, and they are.
They're actually,
you're supposed to have them.
Yeah. So when people talking about the pandemic, oh my God, the anxiety is so high right now. Should you not be?
Yeah, you should be.
Because we don't know where the future is going.
The world is in a crazy state.
Right. And like I mentioned before, it's not about your past. It's what you can't see in the future that causes these mm-hmm. things. You get depressed from a breakup because you think, oh my God, I'm never going to find anyone else. That was the one. Oh my God. So that's your future version that you see. It's it's going to be some lonely dude that is by himself and no love. And when you do that, everything will follow that. Your perspective in life will just follow that. And so you become that lonely person, and you become that loser that you think you are. And so it actually follows. So that's more important. The future version of yourself is actually more important than your present version. Mm-hmm. And I'm actually rethinking that idea when people say, live in the present. It's kind of tough, man, because when people do that, people get in trouble. Live in the present. Well, that means I'm going to the beach every fucking day because I want to live the life I want. Hard work, that can wait. So that's actually not the right way. It's more about what the future version of you would do today. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean don't take breaks. Doesn't mean do a little break, to the beach or whatever. But when you think that way, it's better, because then you're always going towards something. When you start living by the day, for example, when they say live every day like it's your last, that's not good.
It's not the greatest.
That's not a good idea. That's not a good idea. So I like concepts that are actually consistent. I did have that on my shirt before, live every day like it's your last. Mm-hmm. But when people say that, I kind of want to look at them well, you're doing it all wrong, buddy. What are you doing here then? Shouldn't you be somewhere flying around freaking, especially if you're single, shouldn't you be around freaking, shouldn't you be at a bar somewhere or down in the islands with 50 million girls around you on a boat that you rented out for the day? Or, you're doing it wrong. If this is the last day, shouldn't you be around your family? And so I don't really believe it, because it's inconsistent with my philosophies, my thought, and all that stuff. So that actually gets you in trouble when you do it that way, because it's not your last. You have it tomorrow, right? But it just says the future version, what would that person do? Then appreciate life that way. So that's what you want to do. Hey, what's up, Tom? Yeah, please get your answers out or questions. That would be really cool. Brian, thank you for always putting some things out, always seize the day. Carpe diem. Yep, exactly. Um, I really wanted to ask him this question. I wish he was here. He said the most crucial factors influencing your ability to make choices is social environment and cultural environment, and also your emotional development.
Mhm.
You kind of change your uh, perspective on things as you grow.
Of course.
And it depends what you're surrounded by. So that's the
Absolutely.
social part. And the cultural part, it depends on the type of culture you're living in, right? What's happiness and all that stuff. And he actually says on his book that fear and risk is actually what defers accountability. So true. That's why we always rely on people to tell us what to do. That's why it's scary to be an entrepreneur, because you're responsible for everything, right? There's no one to blame but you. But when you're in a bad mindset, you blame your employees, you blame, like, you can't do that. Like, you have to hold yourself accountable. And one of the things that I've learned especially through the pandemic and all that stuff, we were just talking about this, right? Like, you almost kind of, the best way to distract yourself, and it's the healthiest way of distraction, is focusing on the solutions.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone.
Not the problem. Most people focus on the problems. Okay, so there are problems. Everyone's got problems. There's problems in everyone's life and everything.
Yeah.
But okay, great. We know these are the problems. How are we going to fix them?
Right.
What's the solution?
It's
Not
the
focus
best.
on these. If you keep focusing on these, that's when self-doubt and worry and anxiety. Focus on how we're going to fix it. What do we have to do? What are the steps to fix problem A? What are the steps we have to do to fix problem B? And then start working on them. You don't have to do them all in a day, but you have to start slowly working on making progress.
Day one.
Yep, start day one.
Yeah, start day one. So actually, I recommend for people, if you're in a really shitty place right now, complain. Like, seriously.
Complain your ass off.
Complain your ass off, but while you're doing that, please write them down.
Yep.
Because what you're doing is you're actually
giving yourself a guideline.
Yeah, a guideline, a roadmap of all the things you need to solve, all the things you need to work on. I just don't really have any time, this, that. I lost my job and this and that. Now look at the solutions. Distract yourself like crazy with the solutions. When you're just problem solving, the days just keep going. And all you're doing is trying to solve it. You may not solve it right away. So one of the things, it's about accountability, right? You have to understand that no one knows the right choices, Nope. It's not about making the right choices. It's about how you deal with the consequences. And even that is a freaking choice. It's your choice how you're going to react to the consequences, right?
Definitely.
So you have to remember, you're always accountable. You stop blaming things and stop just resorting to, when, like, for example, people get diagnosed with depression. That's it. That's all you're going to do. Just going to take the pills. You're not going to hold yourself accountable. Nothing like that. No.
Not going to try and work on fixing it.
Right.
Or reframing the traumatic thing that happened to you and make it better and try to work around it.
A lot of people I've talked to, I felt that a lot of people are actually insane. They complain about things they do absolutely nothing about. Absolutely nothing. My job sucks. This sucks. This sucks. Oh, so is your resume going out? Are you looking for another job? No. Oh, my girlfriend sucks. She's always doing this and we just don't get along. And oh my God, I'm so depressed. I hate it. Oh, so you guys are going to break up? You're looking for you're going out dating and stuff? No. Oh, really? Okay. Well, you're going to complain again next year, until you break up. So, and you haven't even talked to her about this? Like, what are you doing to fix it? Like, what are you doing to change it? You got to at least try.
What are the steps? This is the roadmap again. What are the steps you're taking to fix this problem?
Something I learned from the startup, mindset, building these businesses and stuff. Everything is an assumption. Everything is an assumption until you get data or feedback. If you start assuming, well, my wife is always this, she's not ever going to go for it, so I don't talk to her about it. that's an assumption. Like, why don't you talk to her first? Like, hey, this, that. And then when you get the feedback, you're like, nope, I was right. Because you might be wrong. You never know. You can't just assume and that's what it's going to go. And a lot of people do that.
It's like that old saying, like, the answer is always no if you don't ask.
Yeah.
So ask. Like, if you want a raise at your job,
right.
If you don't ask for it, if you think you deserve one, but you don't ask for it, the answer is always no.
I mean, look what
the answer could be no. The answer could be no if you ask, but the answer is definitely no if you don't ask.
Right. You have to at least try. If I assumed like, well, Kristen, you know, when I first met her, she had the yachts, the freaking Lamborghinis, mansion, all that stuff. I could have easily said like, she's not gonna go for me.
She's not gonna leave all that for this.
No way. I mean, it's awesome.
Maybe I'm slightly insane because I did, but
mind tricks, man, Jedi.
But no, it was because of all the bad things that were happening to me while I had all that. You know, there were traumatic experiences that I had to work around and reframe. Right. And I didn't let all the traumatic things that happened to me define who I am as a person now.
And how that actually started was because I helped her shift her perspective. Mm-hmm. Her perspective when I first met her was like, I guess because I have all this,
very true, Brian.
I don't deserve love. She's like, I'm never gonna find it. You know, that's right.
I thought that because I had everything, I had anything and everything anyone in the world could ever possibly imagine or ever dream of ever having. The only thing I didn't have was true love and genuine kindness and caring and any of that. I had a lot of abuse in my past relationship. And, it's one of those things where I was like, well, I guess you can't have it all. And that's where I was kind of stuck. And he helped me change that.
Yeah.
That perspective.
New comments there. So another thing that kind of came out this book and made it really clear. And that's how I kind of knew the steps for pursuit of happiness. So
exactly, Brian.
So first, I'll get to your question, Brian, or a comment.
No, he was when he said he asked for a raise. He thought he deserved it, and he asked for a raise, and he wouldn't have gotten it if he didn't ask.
Dude, exactly.
If you didn't ask, the answer was no. You weren't going to get it.
Right. Like Kristen was never going to say yes to me if I never asked.
Right.
If I never even tried to pursue.
Right.
Or anything like that.
Yeah, so definitely not. I would have
stayed
Brian. Where I was.
So those are the kind of things because the way you do that is like when you think of a future version of yourself, like, well, how are you going to move up the ladder? How are you going to succeed? So you actually,
I'm just trying to make her stop.
You actually, follow that route, and you always think of future version of yourself. Mm-hmm. One of the coolest things that I learned from this, and it really made it clear for me, was the steps again, like pursuit of happiness. Right? It always starts with a purpose, so you know the why, and then your perspective have to match that. And when your perspective doesn't match your purpose, that's when you need inspiration. The only goal of inspiration is to actually shift your perspective. Mm-hmm. That's it. When you watch a movie, when you listen to music, when you all of a sudden something changes in you and you go, oh, wow, wait a minute. And all of a sudden your perspective shifts. When you change your perspective, that's almost the only way you're going to make that decision that follows that. All your decisions will follow that perspective, mm-hmm. right? So once it shifts, then you're finally able to make that decision. Once you make that decision, that's the only time you actually need motivation.
Right.
That's the only time. And a lot of people think, like, oh, I don't know what to do with my life because I haven't found anything I'm passionate about. Well, passion actually comes after.
People don't get that.
Yeah. You're never going to know that that you're passionate about music if you never played instruments or anything at all. Mm-hmm. You're never going to know that you actually are passionate about a specific business until you've even tried it. Mm-hmm. You don't know that you want to be a professional surfer unless you try surfing. Like, it's just something that happens after. It's a byproduct. And it's what you really want to think about, right? And all that stuff happens. And something I forgot to mention, when you have a sense, when you try to figure out your purpose, perspective, all these things are intentional. Like you have to freaking do it yourself. Like you actually have to put in work. You don't just find your passion. You don't just find your purpose, and what people always ask is, what is my purpose in life? It's a bad question. What in life gives you purpose? That's the question. Then you start looking at what you're doing, what you've done, and you start going like, I think I want to, from my experience, it looks like I want to do this, I want to do that. That's how you find your purpose. Same thing with like, what's the meaning of life? Actually, what makes life meaningful? So those are the kind of questions. So a lot of times people are just asking the wrong questions, and all the answers all, stem from us.
They all lie from within.
Yeah. No one ever fixes you. No book. The only thing these books do, any motivational, anything,
just change your perspective.
Shift your perspective.
Shift your perspective.
That is it.
And it makes you go, oh shit, they're right. Like they make you rethink big issues in your life.
That's where
and even small issues in your life.
Because that's pretty much the cause of most of your problems is because of your perspective. And it's usually just your perspective on the past or the future or the present, no matter what. It's really your perspective. If you look at any guru that you can think of, it's something shifted in their perspective, and all of a sudden they became motivational. Oh, I'm gonna help people, or when they come up with a business or whatever it is, right? But yeah, that was really cool to read about, that your confidence and your passion actually comes afterwards, right? It's not something you discover. It's actually something you create.
Yep.
That's what it's, personality isn't permanent actually talks about.
Us, like we're creating, like we want to help people. So that's pretty much with Start Day One, and even with our clothing line, like how can we help more people? It's not, that's just become a purpose, but it's because of what we're passionate about and what we want to do, and what it's in line with all of our other goals as well.
Right, exactly. And that's why you just kind of go. So, and it's funny, he goes through this thing too, like, the confidence and passion comes afterwards, right? And talks about the millennials. They're kind of, I feel bad for them, but they were considered that they're lazy
and
entitled, all that stuff. That's what they're concerned about.
They're the kids that were given a trophy. Everyone gets a trophy.
Exactly.
There's no winning, there's no losing. And your parents can argue, like you got a C on your report card, and your parents all of a sudden can argue it, and all of a sudden you get an A.
Yeah.
Your parents argue. Like, you gotta earn that shit.
And that's the thing. That's the problem today, right? It's almost like the political correctness. Just because it makes you feel good today doesn't mean it's the right thing to do.
Right. And just because you have social anxieties or you have issues doesn't mean that everyone else has to tiptoe around you because of the way you think or you feel.
Like, for example, there was this one, it was like in the book.
I'm not saying that to be a dick. I'm just.
There's this one story. It was some girl doing presentation for school. And she's like, we shouldn't have to do something that makes us feel really anxious. Anxiety is real. Yeah, no shit. You're supposed to feel anxiety. But the more you do it, the more you do the presentations, the more you build the confidence, and that's what makes you a better person. The more you avoid that, what do you think you become? And that's why they always say millennials are lazy, entitled.
And because every time something makes you uncomfortable, you can just say, well, I'm uncomfortable doing that, so I shouldn't have to.
Right.
Well, that's not life.
Right.
Lots of things in life are uncomfortable. Lots of things in life I don't like to do. Guess what? Got to do it. Just because it makes me uncomfortable and uneasy doesn't mean that I shouldn't have to do certain things. Yes, I understand you shouldn't be forced into certain situations that are harmful to, your well-being and your actual physical life and what have you. But I mean, it's just one of those things. You shouldn't be forced to jump out of an airplane if you're terrified to. I get that. But if you have to give a presentation at school, give a presentation.
The only way to gain any kind of confidence, it's after. You don't gain before. Your confidence don't go up at all. Not before. Right. You can amp yourself up to like go, but your confidence is totally low. That's why you have anxiety,
Mhm.
right? Because you don't know what the hell's going to happen. When you're doing a pitch, a presentation, oh shit, am I going to bomb? Oh my God, what if I forget? It's called anxiety.
It's just us doing even this.
Yeah, it's normal. I don't know when the hell emotions became abnormal. I have no idea. Growing up, it's always been normal. Depression? Oh, because you had a divorce? Normal. Depression because someone passed away? Oh, weird.
Normal.
That's normal. Yeah. People just are not as self-aware about where the past have been, but they just kind of dwell on it, right? And they just know a sense of the future, like the Tony Robbins thing is, the past doesn't equal the future. But I like that, Benjamin Hardy that actually goes beyond that and just says it's like, no, it's actually the future that should kind of guide you. And totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. And basically his idea that personality is impermanent is he's saying we're always evolving. Our personalities are actually malleable. As an entrepreneur, right? You think, oh, you have to be an extrovert and you have to be good at sales and this. No. Once you have that purpose and you have that future version of yourself and all that stuff, your personality changes automatically because you have to. How are you going to achieve that purpose if you don't do it? Does Elon Musk strike you as an extrovert? He's always on TV though. He's always talking now.
But he's actually not.
But he's not.
Considers himself an introvert.
Yeah, totally. You can see it. He's totally introvert.
He's a little socially awkward.
Right?
You can see it.
Right. And so, like, even me, I'm like, I'm extrovert. Like, this is awkward for me.
Extrovert.
Man, like, this shit is awkward.
Yeah, and I'm an extrovert as well. I mean, I guess technically, I'm always, I bartend. So I talk to people all day long, and I'm a little social butterfly. And so is he. I mean, we go to events and we talk to people all the time. Hundreds of people a weekend. Well, when we were able to go to events.
Yeah, it's awkward.
But this is actually awkward for us.
Yeah,
which is
people
weird.
think I'm so extrovert, butterfly, all this, social butterfly. But I don't put stories. I don't because I'm just like, it's freaking awkward.
And I'm also a very private person though too. I'm also very private, and I like to be home alone. Like we'd like to be home alone. Yeah. So I don't like to go out to bars or restaurants and things like that often.
Yeah.
Like, we like to be home.
But look, so we end up here doing these shows because our purpose is to help people. How the hell are we going to help people if we just stay here and do nothing and not expose ourselves?
Well, yeah, we can't expose ourselves.
Yeah, so those are the things that that he mentions on her. It's just so in line with everything that we talk about. Everyone, like I really recommend this. Like, I know you didn't show up, Benjamin. You suck. But his book, man.
But everyone needs to read the book. It's a very easy read. It's not very scientific. It's very easy. Super, super easy. Like I listened to it, actually. I didn't actually read it. I listened to it 3 times while I was running.
Yeah.
So we got the audiobook, and it is so impactful on your life.
Yeah.
It really makes you think about your life and your past and your future and how you can take horrible traumatic shit that happened to you in the past. And
reframe that.
Reframe it. Like I know a lot of bad stuff had happened to me, like a lot of bad stuff, abuse in all different forms have happened to me. And I was a shitty person for a very short period of time in my life because of that. Yeah. And I just had to rework my life and rethink about that. All that bad stuff happened for a reason, and it made me who I am today.
Yeah.
And I think I'm actually pretty awesome. So.
and then that's what it is, right? It's always a constant pursuit.
Yeah.
I think he was
of being a better person.
It McConaughey that said,
Matthew McConaughey.
What do you want to be? He said, who's your hero?
Who's your hero?
The future version of me 10 years from now.
He said me in 10 years.
And then he was asked again, I guess
in 10 years by the same person. And he's like, are you that hero? And he's like, nope.
He's like, did you make it to become your hero? He's like, no, because that 10 years from now is my hero. 10 years from
now is my hero.
And that's how we have to kind of see ourselves. And so people that are going through some shit right now, right?
Because of the pandemic,
depression,
whatever.
Yeah, the pandemic.
For anything.
Yeah. So let's talk about solutions now. We're talking about all the bullshit and all this stuff, concepts. Anyone going through anything, like tell us something. That would really help, because then we can kind of help guide you on that. But anyway, things that are going on right now, pandemic. people losing jobs and stuff like that, right? So
Jobs, money.
you guys are
family.
panicking, or a lot of people are panicking. It's not like it doesn't happen to us.
Mhm.
Like dude, it's natural.
We
It's
panicked.
normal. Don't make anyone think that it's abnormal. So it's a normal thing. It's a natural reaction.
Still panicking.
But
a little
now
bit.
it's your choice, though.
Mhm.
What are you going to do? That's the best question is now what? Because that means I listened to all the things that you said, but now what? What are we going to do about that now? Now that you know all the problems.
It's that listening. Someone's got to listen, be that empathetic witness.
Right. And just like, when I'm pitching for my startups and stuff, you always discuss the problem. And then you talk about the solutions.
Mhm.
What are you providing a solution for? Like, how are you solving these problems? That's what you kind of have to do with yourself. You have to always go back to like entrepreneurship all the time and combining it, because we don't do enough self-awareness. The way you do companies and stuff, like self-evaluations and things like that. But you really have to figure that out, And then when you start focusing on the solution, like, again, one of the best ways is complaining. You list it out, and then you just go back to it, and it's like, all right, this is what I need to work on, this one, this one, this one. And then just focus on the solutions. What are you going to do? And I've been able to do that surprisingly, like, looking at my past, like, it's not like it was great or anything. I just kind of kept seeing a different feature. Like, I don't know. I just constantly strive for it. I just think it's possible. I know one way to make it impossible. Just quit.
By quitting.
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything about it.
Not that it's a bad thing. Like, a lot of people have this bad concept about, never give up. Like, you guys have to change that. People don't really mean never give up. Never give up on yourself.
Right.
That's it. That's why purpose is important. This might not be the way to reach that purpose. It was a different solution.
Right.
But you're always evolving. Businesses that don't evolve die. I don't think Gen Z even knows what AOL is. Like, I thought they were going to rule the world. I'm like, America Online?
Woo!
We're done. We're done. The same way people think now, like, oh, Amazon is going to rule the world. I don't know.
They are right now.
If they if they just fuck up and let someone else catch up. I mean, Walmart is really trying to get there. They're really trying to, because they all got the products, all that. Like, they have the connections for all that stuff. So, but if they fall asleep, man, it's not going to happen. But you have to have, more self-awareness about yourself and what you're trying to accomplish and stuff like that. And, it's really going to help guide you. And then just, all this time, even through the pandemic, we've always just been kind of like, all right, how do we solve this? What do we do?
How do we fix this problem?
Like with the clothing line, I mean, everyone that knows me, we were very dependent on events,
big events. Like we'd go and, there's thousands of people that we see and talk to every weekend. And he would be flying, all over the country every weekend for an event.
Yeah.
And, you sell all your merchandise on site, and then you come back, and then it's like, okay, we have to redo all this. But then now, how do we sell if we're not in front of people?
And and not only that, what can we do?
Yeah, what can we do?
What are you?
How to shift that? How do we fix that?
Yeah.
I mean, it hasn't fixed it the problem wholly, but it's helped. It's fixed it a little bit enough.
And so we actually just focus on that right now. It's like, all right, what can we do?
What can we do to fix it?
What can we do? I mean, we got the pandemic going on. You're not allowed out. There's no events. All right, so what can we do? So this is one of the ways we kind of keep in touch. Still sticks to our purpose.
Even something as simple as you can't go to the gym. Gyms were all closed. I guess they just opened up in New Jersey yesterday or 2 days ago.
Yeah.
To like 25% capacity or whatever. But this whole time for 6 months, no one could go to the gym. So it's like, all right, so what did we do? We started running.
Yeah.
Like, all right,
it's cool.
So let's do that. So we just you have to make the steps to fix. There's the problem. Can't go to the gym. What do? Run. Work out at home. Do some sit-ups at home.
Another cool story from the book, just to prove that you can really change. There was a story about this dude that went to jail. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So he was just like ended up being a bad kid. And only because he thought he was being a dork. He had
he actually was a good kid. He was a cello.
Oh, he was a cello?
Well, I think it was a cello.
No.
Trumpet.
So he was a trumpet player. But all the cool kids were like,
"You're a dork.
Stop bringing a trumpet around.
Yeah.
What the hell are you doing?"
Yeah.
And so basically,
all the kids he thought were cool were picking on him.
And so he actually, when later on, why did he become a bad kid or a bad person? He said, because I gave up
Gave him
my
playing the
trumpet.
trumpet.
And what that did was, so that her perspective was he wasn't cool with the kids, so he got rid of the trumpet.
He
and that was
became a
his
bad
passion.
kid.
That was his
Yeah,
passion. That was his thing.
He became a really bad kid, wound up in prison
Right.
for attempted murder and all kinds of
Yeah,
shit.
because he thought the cool kids is where it's at. That
Right.
was his perspective. That's high
Yep.
school shit, right?
Yep.
So anyway, he becomes a bad kid. I mean, a bad fucking kid.
Really, really bad.
Goes to jail, prison, all that stuff.
For like 10 years prison or
Yeah.
more, like solitary confinement.
Even
He
in
was, like,
prison.
attempting murder,
And- yeah.
other inmates. Like he was trying to be like the head honcho of the
Right,
bad guys.
Right. He was killing people in jail. Like he actually stabbed like, I don't know, how many of them? 5
8
or
people or
a
something.
bunch of them.
Because he was trying to be the head honcho.
Right. If I
in
get rid of
prison.
him, then I'll be the head of the prison.
Right.
That's how bad this guy was.
Yeah, he was that bad.
When it was that one point, there was a point where he said, if I could just kill this one person, then I'd be the head honcho.
Mm-hmm.
But then all of a sudden, right before it, it's like, I mean, to him, it was
He had like a revelation.
all it was, a perspective shift. He goes, who the hell, what am I going to be ahead of? Who am I trying to be here? Like, what the hell? This is useless.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is so stupid. And it was revolutionary for himself, you know? And so he decided, all right, so what do successful people do? All of a sudden, he changed this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
No more fighting, no none of this. He said, people go to school.
Mm-hmm.
People that are educated, that's what they do.
Yep.
So he decides, I'm going to go to school. He started studying in fucking prison, man.
Mm-hmm.
What's funny, he actually ends up going to Harvard.
Because that was the only school that he's ever heard of, that he knew of. He's like, oh, that college, Harvard, that's the only school that he had ever really heard of. He never heard of Princeton or Rutgers or anything
Right.
like that. He was like, Harvard, I'm going to go to Harvard. Now, this guy was in prison for like 10 plus years in
Yeah.
solitary confinement for murder, attempted murder, all kinds of
Yeah.
crazy shit.
He's bad.
And he said, I'm going to go to Harvard.
I'm going to go to Harvard. There's
Guess
people out
what?
there going like, I couldn't even go to Harvard.
Guess
Well,
what?
Right. And only because you told yourself, that's not me. I don't have Harvard in me. Your
Guess
choice.
what? He went to Harvard,
Yeah.
has a fellowship at Harvard, has an office at Harvard University,
That's right.
and he is a world-renowned speaker.
Yeah.
Changed his whole life.
So people that complain about like, oh, I'm in the ghetto, that is nothing compared
Nothing to
to
do
what
with
he
it.
went
Yep. So you can change your
a choice.
entire life. It was a choice that he made. He changed his life, and he's doing amazing things now.
through. Yeah.
He redeemed himself. And like I said, he went to Harvard, graduated, has an office in Harvard University. Like I couldn't do that. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess if I really, really focused my whole life on it, I could, but like that's insanity.
Yeah.
And he did it.
And it's just really the pursuit. You know what really
Yeah,
makes
he
people
wanted
happy?
it bad enough, and he got it.
Yeah. What makes people happy is some kind of progress.
Mhm.
Just some kind of progress and actually giving.
Yeah.
You know, when you give, it just makes you feel good. That's why you see sometimes homeless people are more giving.
Yeah.
Odd, right? But they're more giving.
Than
because,
people who have a lot of money. It's true.
Yeah,
Very true.
It just makes them feel more human again
Mhm.
because they're able to give to someone else even though they have absolutely nothing, right? So it's really, I'm always trying to change people's perspectives on
There
things.
was a little thing on perspective I just heard this morning when I was running, listening to the book again.
Yeah.
He said there was a man in the book he was talking about in the book, and he said, I was complaining because I was so poor that I didn't have shoes.
Oh yeah,
He
yeah.
said, until I saw a man who
With no
didn't have
feet.
any legs or
No feet.
no feet,
No
a man who
feet.
didn't have any feet. It was
Right.
like, oh, perspective is totally different.
Right.
I'm hating my life right now because I don't have any shoes and I can't afford shoes. But then I see this other man who has no feet.
Yeah. It's the same thing. It's, kind of like this, right? People always complain.
Perspective.
The 1% doesn't care. Like all the problems now, right? Like the 1% doesn't care. All the people that are rich, they don't care. So when's the last time you talked to a homeless dude?
Yeah.
Oh, been a minute. Really? Oh, okay. But you expect them to recognize you, but you won't recognize anyone below you. And so that's kind of like the perspective shift, right? You're just doing a normal life, your regular life. That's what you see. That's what you know. Well, they are too.
Yeah.
You
That's all
know,
that they know.
anyone that's up there, that's their life. They don't know.
Can't fault them for it.
Yeah,
Good for them.
they don't
Bravo.
know your
I want to
life.
be one, but
Right. Like,
we're trying.
they're not going to try and understand you. It's like you trying to understand being homeless. It's like,
Right.
you have to kind of go up. Actually, that's one of the things I tell people when they have like issues and stuff. One of the best self-defense mechanism traits that people with a bad state of mind do is they always say, you don't understand. Always, right? You don't understand, Mom.
And then I have to pussyfoot around you for your feelings. No, I don't. I said that earlier.
Yeah. And the thing is, what's funny is the reason it's such a good defense is because when you say you don't understand, it's almost like, like, I've never been raped before, so I guess I can't help you. Or, my parents were awesome and your parents abused you, so I don't know what that's like, so I guess I can't help you. It's all bullshit. It's just an excuse. Because I don't need to understand. I don't. I'm not trying to be you. You are trying to be me, because from the conversation, I'm the happy one and you're not. So it's kind of like, I've used this plenty of times, like a millionaire going up to someone that wants to become one. And then I'll say like, oh, you have to work hard, do this and do that. And then she goes, yeah, but
you don't understand.
I don't have those kind of, yeah, you don't understand. I don't have those connections, this, that. I don't have rich people. I'm like, oh, then what you need to do is this and this to become a millionaire. Yeah, but it's really hard. How am I going to feed my family? I got to go to work.
Excuses.
Guess what I'm going to say?
Figure it out.
You're never going to be a millionaire.
Right.
Nope. Same reason when people do that with mental health issues. Yeah, but this and that and this. You're never going to get better. You always want to prove me wrong. That's all you want to do. You don't even want to understand.
Not saying that we're not empathetic. Like you understand. You have to listen. You have to be an empathetic witness. You have to actually listen to someone who has those problems. Tell me what your problems are. Again, this is going back to making the list of all your problems. Tell me what your problems are. Yeah, but you don't understand. Okay, tell me. Help me understand your view. And then how are you going to fix it?
Right.
How are you going to shift your perspective to fix it? What are the steps you need to take to fix it, to remedy the cause?
Yeah.
Not the result. You're anxious. Great. Why? Because of this. How are we going to fix this?
Right.
How? What are the steps we have to take to fix that?
Exactly. And it's not like she said, it's not like I'm being heartless.
No.
What I'm trying to do is let you know, like, you are fully accountable.
And responsible.
There is nothing I can do to help you. I can guide you.
Right.
That's why we said start day one. It comes from you. There is no therapist that cures you. It's actually you curing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they don't do anything.
Right.
They try to shift your perspective, in different ways. A lot of times, just a lot of questions. That's how you kind of evolve, because it has to come from you. That's why questions are so good.
Right. Like, not discrediting that bad things happen to people.
Yeah.
Horrible things happen to people.
But as soon as you don't freaking, but as soon as you decide, oh, I'm not going to start. Like, for example,
you can't let it run the rest of your life. Like, something bad happened. These people already took this part of your life from you.
Yeah.
Are you going to continue to allow them to take the future you away from you?
And that's what really sucks. A lot of times, it's not really necessarily your fault either.
No.
Because, everyone knows the placebo effect, right? When you're told good things, this, that, good things happen, whatever. But no one really talks about the nocebo. They actually say like a good percentage of why you get better from, antidepressants, things like that, is a lot of placebo into it, right? Because when they do testing, it's like the same amount of people get cured. It's like weird. Anyway, that's a whole different research. I don't want to get into the science of it all. But the nocebo effect is almost controllable. That's like the doctors telling you you're fucked up. Mm-hmm. Once you believe that, you're done. Mm-hmm. For example, like, when doctors say like, oh, you have 3 months to live, and then there's people that actually die on the day, 3 months.
My grandfather is a perfect example of that.
Oh,
my mother's father, they told him he had pancreatic cancer, and they said, Mr. Rinaldi, you will be dead in 6 months. 6 months to the day my grandfather died.
Yeah. And there's people
He believed it.
And the ones that, there's so many stories about, actually, I'm going to be interviewing someone that was told he's never going to be able to walk again. He didn't listen. He said, fuck that shit. No. He saw a future version of him that's going to walk. So what the hell did that guy do? He did this, he did this, he did this, therapy. There's no harm in the pursuit. Might as well fucking try. It's when you don't try at all, it's going to be frustration. It's going to be that. And that's the thing. That's the best part about purpose. You don't care about the pain, the pleasure. You just go. It's like, I used to wrestle, right? If I want to freaking win, I got to go through the shitty freaking practice, losing the weight, getting myself beat up by someone better than me and all that stuff because I want to win. But people in life, they try to avoid that stuff. It's necessary to go through this. And it's funny. You actually have to go through it. I always compare it like games, right? People don't like playing. Imagine playing a video game, but you're definitely going to win one try. You're not going to want to play that game. Like imagine your life being that, oh, everything just happened. Like awesome for me. And that's why you have rich people committing suicide. It just kind of nothing, no challenge, nothing. It's just like, yeah, okay. So, those are the kind of things. But again, like the book really emphasizes a lot of this. And, you have to know. So the two big takeaways, man, is that one, personality is just not permanent. Who you think you are, who you become is a choice. It's all up to you. Just because your dad committed suicide doesn't mean you have to.
Just because your mom was an alcoholic doesn't mean you're gonna be one.
You're not just an introvert. You don't have to stay like that. And he's proven it with research that your personality is very malleable. Yep. It's always evolving. People get in trouble when they try to stop the evolution. Trauma, right? But I want to be the person before the trauma happened. Yeah, but you're not. But you try to hold on. So then they get worse and worse and worse. But you're better off just embracing the pain so that you can appreciate the pleasure. And then that's how you kind of evolve. So that's takeaway one, that it's not everything that you know about yourself and your past and all that. None of that matters. None of it matters. Like it's completely up to you what your personality is going to be. And two is really that mindset of the future version of yourself. Like those are the biggest fucking takeaways.
Yep.
When you do that, man, you get so just, I don't know. It's almost like, it's kind of like when I talk about the perspective. It's the best perspective shift I've ever heard. That was so simple. People, you can talk to people that have mental health issues. It's like, what do you think their future version of themselves are? Imagine your first breakup, right? It sucked because you thought you're going to be alone forever. You're not going to find the same, the right one. You're going to be lonely.
And you're 19 and right. You think like your world is over.
And you're 19, it's the end of the world.
It's the end of the world.
Listen here, buddy. Plenty of time. Plenty of time. You're going to learn from this. Don't worry about it.
And you'll find you'll go through this 3 more times before you find the right one.
Right. But that's just something that happens.
But that's life. That's learning. That's living.
It's natural, man. And then the higher you're going to deal with that. Yeah, and that's the way it is. That's just the freaking life. Like you have to do that. And so it just keeps on going that way. But I really wish freaking the author was able to join us today, but I don't know what the hell happened. I don't know if you got the wrong link. But
it's the third time. We had it scheduled 3 times. This is the third time we've had him scheduled.
Yeah, what the shit?
The first 2 times were actually canceled. They had to change dates, but this time he just, we just
didn't
ghosted us.
We got ghosted. We got ghosted.
Cool, so whatever.
But anyway, thank you everyone that listened in. We're talking about the book, and I hope you kind of learned something. I wasn't as prepared to explain what the book is about because I was expecting the author to be with us.
To be talking about it?
Right. So I only picked kind of like off different points. Yeah, exactly. But I do recommend it, even though he ended up not being here. I really recommend getting the book. It just in line with everything that we've talked about. it's one of the best ways to really shift your perspective, to really change your.
This is the book. I think everyone, honestly, I think everyone in the world should read this book.
Yeah, it is that
really,
good.
Really,
we're not getting paid for this.
No, not at all. He doesn't even know we're doing this.
Yeah, he doesn't even know. He didn't even show up.
We think it's actually a really good book. If you've ever experienced anything in your life,
or trying to pursue something.
Yeah, read the book. It's super easy to read.
Yeah,
and it's really, really a great read.
Yeah, and you're really gonna look at your life and figure it out.
Yeah, and it's gonna make you think a lot. Go, huh, no shit. Yeah. And then you're gonna go, and then you're gonna read another chapter, and you're gonna go, huh, no shit. And all of a sudden, a lot of things are gonna change in your life, and it actually has done that for us. Me, you.
It's easy. I did the audio book, and we have the book also, but
because he sent it to us.
Yeah.
Because in getting in
so
for preparation for the
you didn't even have to show up. Like, it was already awesome to get this. So that's really freaking help. And it's awesome. Like, I wish I would have gotten deeper. If I knew I was gonna have to explain the damn book,
we would have been.
I'd have been all over it, really kind of teaching guys. But I really just wanted to talk about how it was in line with a lot of our philosophies that we've always talked about.
Yeah.
You know, trying to remedy the cause instead of the result, and this kind of helps with that. You know, the only way is really to see a future version of the solution and all that stuff. So anyway, thank you everyone for joining us, and until next Thursday.
Right?
We'll see you there. Thinking Out Loud Live.
See you later, guys. Thanks.